Now, Luffy vs. Kaido has been going on for quite some time now, and it's fair to say that both characters haven't really gone all out yet. Now, in Luffy's case, I wouldn't say that he hasn't gone all out, it's just more so that he keeps evolving every second of the battle. So it's hard to kind of gauge if Luffy is going all out. Granted, he did get defeated off screen, we didn't really get to see what happened, but I am more of the mindset that Luffy was testing his powers. And this was kind of hinted based on Kaido's words here, in which he talked about Luffy lacking in technique. So I think while Luffy did evolve and was able to use Conqueror's Haki, it's clear that at that point in time, it wasn't up to par in terms of technique as Kaido's Conquerors, and this ultimately led to his defeat. Now again, we didn't really see what happened, but I personally believe that Luffy didn't go into Gear 4th because Conqueror's coding was a newfound ability that he just obtained, so he wasn't at a level where he could use it in conjunction with Gear 4th. This is why we're seeing Luffy fight Kaido in base form, because he doesn't want to put everything out as he just learned the ability. And just like I mentioned before, that ties back to Kaido's statement. Luffy was testing his abilities before implementing it into Gear 4th and whichever form we're going to see moving forward, which is why we haven't seen Gear 4th being used at all until we move on to round 2, in which this version of Luffy that we're seeing right now has obviously gone through some transformation. Not only was he able to match Kaido and Conquerors, but he's also able to replicate something that the other emperors are able to do, which is the splitting of the sky. It seems like there is a base status of Conquerors that you need to be on par with the Emperors. So it's obvious that Luffy has gained a new level of his ability. Now, it's most likely still not as refined as Kaido, given that Kaido had years to master his Conquerors, but it's obvious that Luffy is getting closer and closer. It seems like Luffy has reached the baseline of the Emperors, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's better at Conquerors than Kaido, because I feel like in terms of technique and usage of Conquerors, Shanks is one of the individuals that I think possesses another level, but that's a topic for a different video. And so I think what we're going to see next will be indicative of how much better Luffy's technique has become. But I'm not here to talk about Luffy, I'm here to talk about the most impressive character in Wano at this point in time, Kaido, and the potential of his next form. Now, before we keep going, this video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Now, watching restricted Netflix shows has always been a problem, as well as worrying about the potential of hackers getting their hands on your personal data. But worry not, as this is where Surfshark VPN comes into play. Surfshark VPN keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all the information between your devices and the internet, which in return protects all your personal data from the looming eyes of hackers and big companies. It also has this feature of allowing you to change your IP into a new one, and there's different countries that you can choose from, which in return enables you to watch shows that are for the most part restricted. In other words, it gives you the ability to watch a lot of shows that you couldn't watch before due to area restriction. And by using my code Pharaoh, you will be able to get your hands on Surfshark VPN at 83% off. And that's not all. You will also get 3 extra months for free. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's really not a risk to try. And remember, this works on all your devices for just one account. So again, links will be in the description. Check it out and remember to use my code Pharaoh. Now back to the video. Now, I made a video talking about how we're going to see the full power of a Yonko in Wano, which I think is still going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. It almost feels like the true battle hasn't really taken place yet. Now, of course, we have seen Kaido fight the Scabbards, we've seen him go against the Supernovas, we've seen him against Yamato, and finally we're seeing him against Luffy again. But it's almost like he hasn't been pushed enough to bring out everything that he has. But it's obvious that we're getting closer and closer. The first level of things is when he goes into full transformation. The second level is when he gets into base form because he has more versatility and it's a more convenient form for him to fight. The third level seems to be hybrid form, which takes the 2 previous forms and combines it into one, and it seems like this is the form that he's chilling on right now. And so I think there's probably one more form that we haven't seen yet, maybe 2, but that could be a stretch. And this form is Awakening. Now, I've talked about how Oda hasn't really talked about Awakening in this arc, even within the Calamities, but it seems like this could be something that he's holding back as a sort of final form for Kaido and potentially Queen and King as well. If anything, I'd say it's very natural for someone of Kaido's stature to have awakening, because there's a bunch of characters that are lower than him that have it. So I think there's no doubt that Kaido most likely has an awakened form. And we also have to take into account that Luffy is fighting Kaido in base form, and Kaido is currently in his hybrid. So I would imagine that if Luffy takes it up to Gear 4th or his next form, Kaido would most likely take it up a level to match Luffy's next form. Now, when it comes to the awakening for Zoans, it was explained by Crocodile back in Impel Down that Zoan users, when awakened, possess increased strength, increased durability, and they have this insane recovery time, meaning that they would get up no matter how many times you bring them down. And this is something that we haven't seen from any of the Beast Pirates yet, because I feel like Oda would tell us if said person was awakened, as that is something Oda seems to reiterate time and time again when a person is awakened. Now, there is still the possibility that Queen and King could be awakened, as those two seem to be in the same spotlight in terms of strength, and they seem to be on a different level than Jack. But when it comes to Kaido, I have no doubt that he's awakened. Now, what's very interesting about Zoans is that they are divided into 3 subcategories. You have the normal Zoans, you have ancients, and then finally you have mythical Zoans. And I think because of those differences, each subcategory might have a different awakening. Now, I'm not sure about ancients and normal Zoans having a different awakening, because for the most part they function the same. Ancient Zoans are just tougher versions of normal Zoans, so it's very likely that they do also possess, the same increased strength, durability, and recovery time just like normal Zoans, but maybe to a much higher degree. So I don't think there might be a difference between ancient Zoan awakenings and regular Zoans, but it's definitely going to take a lot of firepower to put them down, and there's even the possibility that they might recover and start fighting again. We know King and Queen are super durable based on their showing so far, so we're going to need next level attack power from Zoro and Sanji. And so with Queen and King, I think Oda is going to display what awakening is like for ancient types, because we don't necessarily know what that entails, even though we know what it's like for normal Zoans. So that's going to be interesting. But when it comes to mythical Zoans, this is where things might be different, as they will most likely possess awakenings that don't function like other Zoan types, because mythical Zoans for the most part have different abilities that come with the natural physical augmentations that they get, right? So for example, with Kaido's fruit, apart from turning into a dragon, Kaido also possesses the ability to manipulate not just fire, but also winds, lightning, the weather, tornadoes, and all sorts, which he used against the scabbards and the supernova. So it makes you wonder, will these abilities also be taken to a whole new level? I'd say it's very likely. There is also a possibility that Oda might incorporate the mythical lore behind Kaido's devil fruit as his awakening, because these dragons in mythology have a variety of different abilities that they do have, and interestingly, this dragon is associated with wood. So I wonder if wood is going to play a part in his awakening. Something else that we do also have to take into account is Kaido's race, the Oni race, which we don't really know much about, except that they could be or are similar to the ancient giants, which are known to be very durable and very powerful. And it seems like Kaido and Yamato both possess this crazy durability and strength, but there could be more to it in the same sense as kind of like the Lunarians, whereas King has the ability to manipulate fire because of the traits of his race. Maybe the Oni race have something like that as well. And I do talk about this in a separate video, and I go more in depth about it, with them potentially having a innate transformation that is tied to the Oni race specifically, whereas their skin could turn red or something of that sort. And maybe a combination of his natural innate transformation plus his mythical dragon devil fruit turns him into something else. And maybe this is why Big Mom refers to Kaido as a thing, because in this form he can only be recognized as a thing. So there is a lot to take into account when you think about Kaido's full power, which we are getting closer and closer to that point, and it seems like Luffy will have a next level as well. Gear 4th will be the next level, but I think there's something something even above that, because Luffy has learned new forms of haki, and I think it's time that we see a new gear come into fruition here. But again, I'll talk about that more in my next video. But I do definitely think that Kaido will show us something that we've never seen from any Zoan user in the series. This is the peak that we're gonna get for Zoans moving forward. And as much as I am hyped for Luffy's progression and his next form, I am also looking forward to what Kaido brings to the table, as what Kaido shows also kind of elevates Luffy. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I would appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Let's try to get 500 likes. Comment down below what you guys think. Subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Ferrospace. But it is Pharaoh, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.